If you tolerate everything, do you tolerate intolerance? The answer might seem an obvious no. Of course not. If someone advocates for censorship or the suppression of anyone's rights, it seems obvious that we need not tolerate that. But the moment you draw that line, you are no longer tolerating everything. You are deciding what you allow and what you don't. But suppose we answer the question differently. Suppose we say, yes, we must tolerate even intolerance, because the refusal to do so would itself be intolerant. Great, we have stayed consistent across the board. But in doing so, have we allowed the very voices that seek to eliminate tolerance altogether? This is known as the paradox of tolerance, the impossibility for tolerance to exist in its pure, unlimited form without undermining itself, because unlimited tolerance must ultimately lead to the disappearance of tolerance. If a society extends tolerance even to those who seek to silence or suppress others, then tolerance grants them exactly the tools that they could use to destroy it. So in order for societies to remain tolerant, they must paradoxically, be intolerant of intolerance. And this doesn't apply only to tolerance. Many of what we consider foundational virtues of moral systems and societies begin to negate themselves when pushed to their logical extreme. Think of free speech. If we allow free speech without limits, should we also allow speech that argues against free speech? What about liberalism? Should a liberal society allow anti-liberal forces to operate freely within it under the name of openness? Wherever we look, the problem keeps reappearing. History is full of sobering examples where democratic systems were used by anti-democratic movements to gain power and then destroy democracy from within. So while it is tempting to believe that positive virtues should be applied universally and abundantly, this paradox poses a deeper question. Can a system committed to openness remain open without having to defend itself against those who seek to close it? Or does every virtue, no matter how good it seems, at some point require its own limit? Suppose we wanted to create a perfectly complete map of a city that contains everything. All streets, all objects, and all relationships between objects would be accounted for in this map. If the map were to be truly complete, then nothing could be left out. But the map itself is an object in that city. So, in order for it to be complete, it would have to contain itself. Though, if the map includes itself, then inside the map, there must be another representation of the map. And inside that representation, another representation, then another one, and another one, indefinitely. In this scenario, we are caught in a bit of a pickle. If we miss any information, that would make the map incomplete. But to include everything would be an impossibility. Jorge Borges plays with this idea in his short piece on exactitude in science. He describes an empire whose cartographers become so obsessed with accuracy that they create a map so detailed and so precise that it had to be the same size as the empire itself. Although seemingly perfect, it was so large and so detailed that it proved to be completely impractical to use. But despite the map's flaws, it was as if people refused to let go of it, convinced it represented some ultimate truth about the world. And yet, because it was too exact to be useful, it ceased to serve its purpose and was eventually abandoned by future generations who were not so keen on cartography. I suppose the analogy of the map that contains itself could be extended to any system that tries to explain everything. Eventually, it must try to account for itself, and the moment it does, it quickly hits a limit. Because no matter how much data and intelligence we may have, complete representation would require stepping outside the system entirely. And then the question would be if there is an outside to begin with. If you are trying to explain the whole of reality, you are already part of that reality. How exactly could you step outside it and look at it? Any explanation you give is happening from within it. Take consciousness, for example. Could we actually fully map consciousness when we are trapped inside it? because any model of consciousness would have to include consciousness modeling itself in order for it to be complete, which would again create an infinite loop. Any attempt to describe it is by itself an exercise of consciousness. The observer simply cannot detach entirely from the process that's being observed. If anything, the hyperfixation on exactitude, as Borges terms it, carries with it the risk of falling victim for its dangers. Comically, perhaps this is nowhere better to be seen than in philosophy. Excessive precision can lead to puzzles that arise more from our definitions and sub-definitions than from what we observe in the world. A thinker might refine a term, then refine it again, then introduce distinctions within distinctions, until we are solving problems created purely by language. And just like the map that was too precise to be useful, there is a practical cost for hyper-precise language. At some point, it becomes so completely inaccessible that adding more exactness only muddies understanding and distracts from what's important. Imagine there is a wooden ship. Slowly over time, you replace every wooden plank of the ship until every plank has been replaced. Is it still the same ship? If not, then at what point did it stop being that ship? Now suppose someone takes the discarded planks and builds a new ship. Which one is the original ship? The one that has been completely reconstructed, or the newly built ship from the old planks? This is a famous thought experiment known as the Ship of Theseus, and it challenges the idea of a stable identity. It makes us confront the question, what actually makes something the same thing over time? What makes the Ship of Theseus exactly that ship? Is it material? Is it the name that we give it? Is it the purpose that it serves? Is it its properties and features? This paradox becomes more interesting when we apply it to our presumed identity. Throughout your life, you treat yourself as the same person. You don't construct different identities for different moments of your life. You often tell your story as one coherent narrative with one main character. But your cells constantly renew. Your beliefs and your values change, your tastes change, your personality, your interests. You may not even look like you did 10 years ago. That person differs psychologically and biologically from the person you are now. You even say, I'm not the same person I was 10 years ago. And yet you consider yourself the same individual. Your life feels like it belongs to the same person. But on what grounds? Are you that person because of memory, because you remember being that person? Or is there something that makes you consistently you? And so this paradox confronts us with the possibility that personal identity might be an illusion held together by narrative and memory.